everybody, so today I've got my top 20 eyeshadow palettes for 2024. I've tested over 70 different eyeshadow palettes throughout the year, and eyeshadows are my favourite when it comes to the makeup category. I am really in love with eyeshadow. That's pretty much what brought me to this channel. I love them, and we didn't get that many at the start of the year, but we got a nice rush of them at the end of the year, so it's been really difficult for me to whittle this down to 20. I thought about doing a top 10, but it had to be a top 20 because it was so difficult to leave them out. In fact, now I've still left out some real favourites, but I've just about got it down to the ones that I think I would probably grab the most. So this top 20 is very much personal. It's very much the ones that I know that I use the most, that I want to use again next year, and then when I look at them now I think, oh, I want to keep these in my drawer and keep using them and return to them as much as I possibly can. So that's the way I've done this. So you'll probably notice a little bit of a theme, the sort of colour stories that I love and the brands that I love, and this will all be luxury. I will just show you at the very start two that aren't in the luxury brand that don't fall into the top 20, but I think they just deserved an honourable mention. But I will then start with my luxury top 20. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah. I'm 47, not a professional, just somebody who loves makeup and beauty. And here on my channel, I love to show you my favourite products, review the latest products, and give you any beauty news you might be interested in. And if you think you'd be interested in any of that, please do like and subscribe. I do upload here regularly on my channel. And if you're interested in my skin tone, for the reason these colours might or might not match my skin tone, I've got fair to light skin with neutral / cool undertones. And if you're already subscribed to my channel, welcome back. I appreciate you all, and let's get straight into this video. So I said at the beginning I would give two honourable mentions to two that don't fall into the luxury bracket. Now, one that would normally probably be in the top 5, and I would still put them in the top 20, luxury or not, because they are so good and they are my absolute favourites from the indie brand, is Oden's Eye. But they're not in this top 20 this year because Oden's Eye haven't released a colour story that I think is good enough for me to put it in the top 20. That's the only reason. Whereas if had it been last year and the year before, Oden's Eye would have been in my top 5. So hopefully they'll have a colour story next year, and then they will be in my top 20 regardless, like I said, whether they're indie or luxury. I love Oden's Eye, and if you look at their Christmas palette, which I'm dying to get my hands on, I have it here. I mean, I'm dying to put it on my eyes because it's coming up to Christmas and I still haven't had time to use it. It's my favourite Christmas palette. I love Oden's Eye. I did get their new Christmas palette and I very much enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it's a favourite. So I just wanted to mention those. But the two that I want to mention that are definitely not in the luxury category, these two palettes here. This one from Colorpop, this is Precious Metals. Now I think this one is absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the best palettes, if not the best palette that I think that Colorpop has come out with. I think this is a colour story that just about anybody would enjoy. It is absolutely stunning. The formulas are fantastic. The mattes blend out beautifully. You could create a number of looks. This will see you through the whole year. You can cover every single season with this palette. So if you enjoy sort of warm toned, bronzy, golds, neutrals, with lots and lots of fabulous shimmers, this is a beautiful palette, so I thought it had to have some sort of mention because I really do love this one. And the other one, which I often mention on my channel, is Beauty Bay, and my favourite one from them this year, which I thought was stunning, was this botanical one. This is one of their limited range palettes. Look at this colour story. This for me was the autumn palette, one of the best autumn colour stories we've had this year in my opinion. I always love the Beauty Bay formulas in their limited edition palettes. They are such good value. These are incredibly good value, so I highly recommend checking out Beauty Bay. But I created some beautiful looks for this. If you know me, you know I love greens. I also love oranges, so to have greens and oranges all in one palette with some really stunning shimmers, this is an absolute winner. It's got everything you could possibly want and so many different looks. So this was my favourite colour story, the botanical. I very much doubt you'll be able to get this now because they are limited edition and they do disappear. So when they come out with another limited edition, honestly, I recommend grabbing one. So now let's get straight into my top 20 luxury eyeshadow palettes. So my number 20 palette is the Roxa palette from Natasha Denona. If I was going to give this a mark for formula and for ease of use, it would probably be number 1. It is probably the easiest easiest palette I've used on the eyes considering these colours. Now purples and reds are colours that make me quite nervous. I don't particularly enjoy them, but I'm putting this in my top 20 right at the end though, because these colours work so well on me and I have actually really enjoyed it and I've wanted to reach for it. My absolute favourite in this is this central one here, which I think is absolutely stunning. This one is the shade Bolt, which is just glorious. I love this one all over the lid for a very simple, quite light wash of a sort of lilac-y purple, which I think is a really elegant shade. But then the deeper matte in this, the purple here, is just so easy to blend out. So you've got everything you need in here. You've got the light shades for the sort of inner corner, for under the brow. You've got this dark one here, which is perfect for lining. You can go a little bit warm should you want to. They're the only ones I would say I didn't really appreciate, if I'm totally honest. You can use these to sort of warm up the eye if you want to maybe move into the summer. It has a place possibly there with the pink and everything, but for me it's the lilacs, the purples. These are the colours here that I really enjoy, and all of the mattes just work so beautifully. So if we just exclude maybe this section here, then I really enjoy this palette. So again, it's 20 because I'd probably not want these for if I was going to choose. I probably want a little bit more of a sort of lilac shade, a few more lilac shades in different depths maybe, but not those. But anyway, fabulous formula, the best formulas I think Natasha's come out with in terms of mattes. I thought they were stunning. So at number 19 is the Urban Decay Moon Dust palette. Seems a bit mean almost to put this at 19 because this has stayed in my top drawer since the moment I got it. But I've put it at 19 because this is just a shimmer palette. There are no mattes in this, so for me I can't create a look with this. But the reason it stayed in my top drawer is that when I want to just use a simple matte or bronze background to just have one and done, any of these 4 shades will serve as a one and done. They are all absolutely stunning. So we have Star Cowgirl, we have Space Cowboy, we have Wild Dipper Rides Again, and then lastly we have Cosmic Space Dust. Look at them. Just look at how utterly glorious these are. So if you're familiar with these Urban Decay toppers, I was so excited when I saw them in an actual palette because I love them. I love them as individuals, but I just think it's much more convenient to have them all here. So when you're just looking for that topper and you just want a very simple look, it's such a quick way of having a really pretty look. Like I said, just a bit of bronzer maybe already down as your sort of transition base, and then this one of these all over the lid, and you've got yourself 4 different eye looks with these utterly glorious toppers. I say toppers, they're not toppers, they are full one and done shades. They cover as well, they are gorgeous. And at number 18, for a similar reason, this one's going to 18. This one is from Bobbi Brown. I think this is probably the most beautiful one I'm going to show you. This is probably the most gorgeous collection from the year. This is the Kerry Rosenthal collection. That launched, I think it was around the spring. So this palette is called the Moonstruck Luxe Eyeshadow Quad. Now these are all shimmers and that's why it places a little bit low, but this one has stayed in my drawer alongside the Urban Decay for exactly the same reason. All 4 of these serve as fabulous one and dones, and these are beautiful formulas. These are actually the baked formula, the baked gelée formula, so you cannot get better than this formula. It is absolutely stunning, and obviously the packaging is beautiful, it's weighty, it's got a lovely mirror, and we've got this gorgeous pattern on the front. But for me it really is the formulas. If I just very quickly show you what these 4 look like, there they are. Look at them, aren't they absolutely stunning? So all 4 of these, they can be mixed together if you wanted to have 1 or 2 together. So this one for here is a little bit dark for me as a all over. So maybe mixing this one in the outer section of the eye and this one more so in the inner. Or I could mix it with this or this, but anyway, they are just beautiful. And I see palettes like this and the Urban Decay as almost like investment ones because they will last a number of years regardless of what the expiry date says. For me, I will continue to use them, and they will be in my top drawer and regularly used when I just feel like I need that extra. Maybe I'm just doing a lazy look that day and I don't want to dip into a big eyeshadow palette, or maybe I'm using an eyeshadow palette that lacks that really good pop of shimmer that I'm looking for. These are just there for me all year round, so they are really good pieces to have in my everyday drawer. So at number 17 we have Pat Mcgrath. Now this is not one of Pat's Italian formulas, but for me it was this colour story, and I've actually reached into this so much more so than I thought I might. this one is called the Opalescent Orchid. And look at this colour story. It is such a perfect sort of mermaid colour story that's been very popular this year. Not one I'd wear this time of year, but very much a spring summer colour. When I went on holiday to Croatia, this was the only sort of coloured palette that I took with me. And there's 1 matte in this and 4 shimmers. And like I said, this is not Pat's top formula from Italy, but it is such a beautiful colour story. This colour here, this pink shifty one here, is so beautiful. I love it. I think that these are very high quality, regardless of not being the Italian formula. And I just think for me it is the colour story. It's not the most interesting packaging. It's not very luxe from Pat. I do like the pattern on it though. I think it's very pretty. But it's just cardboard, it's nothing fancy, but it's this colour story, and I've reached for this so many times and I've loved every single look I've created with this palette. I think it is gorgeous, perfect colour story. So that's quite easily in my top 20 actually, because of the number of times I've reached for it. And at number 15 we have one from Dior, which would for me be the same sort of time of year, the spring summer, but this one is probably more spring, and this is a beautiful palette. So this is limited edition, so I very much doubt you'll find it online now, I'm afraid. But this one from Dior launched earlier this year, number 943, L'Atelier Mauve. Now this is the one that had beautiful embossing. You can still see a little bit of it, where you can see the mannequins from the Dior shop, which I thought was stunning. I really thought this was the prettiest palette they've come out with, certainly in the last year. But this gives such a subtle, beautiful spring look. I love this one. If I try and swatch it for you now, it'll be very hard for me to really give you any idea, because as with all Dior palettes, they tend to be extremely light and not very pigmented. But this one is very, you can see there on my pale skin there, it's still looking very light. But trust me, this is a beautiful palette, and I didn't know if I'd love it quite as much as I ended up loving it, because pinks and purples aren't always my favourite, but I thought these tones really suited me. And I reached for this quite a lot more than I expected to, and I've wanted to go back to it, so I definitely want to use that one again in the spring as we move out of the sort of winter shades, because I think that this is so pretty, very subtle and elegant, but very, very beautiful. So that's why that one is at number 15. Sorry, that one was number 16. Because I'm going down in numbers, I'm getting myself all muddled. If I was going up from 1 to 10, I'd probably be better at this, so please excuse my useless maths. That was 16. So now we're at number 15. So at number 15, we have this one from Lisa Eldridge. So this, from a formula point of view, probably deserves to be a bit higher, but I'm talking about how much I've reached for this and how much I want to reach for it. And I'm going to be honest and say I haven't used it an awful lot, but I am putting it there because I keep wanting to. I keep thinking I really, really need to find a day where I can slot this one in, because I think this gave me one of the most beautiful looks I created all year. I love this one, and this one is Fawn. So you might be familiar with Vega, which is a slightly similar colour story, but this one is a bit softer than Vega, which I think suits me better. I think the really sort of dark tones don't necessarily suit my colour tone as well, with me being so fair. And this is just the perfect colour story. It's slightly more cool. There are some warm shades in here, but it's definitely more cool, and I think this one is just perfect for me, and I love it. The formulas in this are 10 out of 10. So here is a quick swatch of that palette, but the swatches really don't do it justice. If you see my review of this, I think that this gives a beautiful look. You can use this to line, you can use this for inner corner, so it covers everything with this lighter shade here in the middle. This can be your inner corner, this can be your under the brow. This deeper shade here can be used as your liner. This one also can be used to create more depth for liner, or for just creating more of a smoky look. And then these two, you might think this one's a little bit warm, but then you have this option as well. So if you exclude this brown here, it's quite a cool toned one, but then if you want that little bit of warmth, you've got that too. So I think it's sort of covering everyone there. This is the lightest sort of shimmer here, but this one does look quite nice if you put it actually on top of one of the deeper browns. So there's a lot of ways to play around with this one. I think this is one of my absolute favourites from Lisa, and I definitely, for my colour tone, prefer it to Vega. So that's why that one is at number 15. Oops, oh, sorry. Sorry. She survived, it was a small fall. So at number 14 was my first ever eyeshadow palette from Hermès. I was resisting buying any of these because they are so pricey, and the colour story, in all honesty, didn't actually appeal to me that much. But when I decided to test out their highlighter, I thought, why not? I'll just pick up one and see what I think. And this ended up being one of the best autumn palettes I have in my whole collection. This colour story is so perfect. So I love the blue, I love the green, I like all of it. There's no point saying individual colours here. I think that they just work together so well. This is a beautiful, beautiful formula. It's made me want to test out more and more from Hermès, so it was a bit of an expensive discovery this year. But this is a colour story I can really get behind. Here it is swatched here. So they're not massively pigmented, they're just the right level of pigment, and the blue blends out very well for a blue. I think they're beautiful formulas. I think the shimmer is very, very elegant, very smooth, really top quality here. And like I said, it's very expensive, but I think for me it's taught me that if I think the colour story should work for me, I will be getting future ones from Hermès, because this one, I thought they got this spot on. I've seen some, it's either that they're a bit dull and not very interesting, or the colour stories don't necessarily work together, but these tones, this is the most perfect autumn shade. I just think it's the perfect tone of the green, blue, brown. I think they got it absolutely spot on. I love this one, I really, really do. And if you see, I did a video, my favourite autumn look, I think it was called, and this is the one I used. I think that this is phenomenal for autumn, I really do. And now at number 13, it's a Christmas release from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this one is Sugar. I love ABH palettes, I always get them. I was a bit sad we didn't have a bigger one this year from ABH and wonder if it's the end of those big ones. But there was Sugar and there was Spice, and my favourite of the two is Sugar. I think they're both gorgeous. The Spice one is more of a sort of brown, copper, bronze, neutral palette, but it really does look fabulous. But the reason that it's not in my top 20 is because it's a colour story that's been done so many times, and I've got so many palettes that could copy it. Whereas this one is much more unique. I love this. This is the Sugar Plum Fairy in a 9 pan, more so than any others. And Charlotte Tilbury did a sort of slightly similar colour story last year, but this for me knocks spots off Charlotte Tilbury's one. I think that this one is beautiful, and these have so much more impact. And we have colours like this, but the blue as well. I'll show you them now. They are so beautiful. They are a little bit crumbly, so you do need to be careful. I'll just show you the shimmers here. I won't show you this. This is also shimmery. It's like a matte with a sparkle in the deeper mauve. Oh, they are so gorgeous. The minute I see them on my hand, honestly, they are beautiful. Look at them. They are so beautiful. This is ABH at her best. I think that her formulas for shimmers are some of the best on the market. These are some of the best I've tried all year. That is how good this is. This palette is stunning. I love it so much, and I've ended up reaching for this one so much. I would probably wear this most of the time. I think it's so much fun. I think you can do quite simple looks if you wanted to. You've got these shades here, so this is an all-rounder as well, because you can get a liner, you can just about get an inner corner, very shiny inner corner with that, I suppose. I think this one's too pinky to be an inner corner or underbrow. But you've got certainly liner shades here. These are sparkly matte, so it's just matte with a little bit of sparkle, but not too much. So they really don't have too much. I mean, I could quickly show you what I mean there. You can feel the sparkle as you run your finger over them, but they don't look that sparkly. There we are, I'll just put them on my hand now. They're quite smooth mattes. It's not swatching very well, the matte. Here, see, that didn't swatch very well, so I'm not showing it off very well, but trust me, they go onto the eyes beautifully. I had no problems whatsoever once these went onto the eyes. You can see that the mattes, you can see the sparkle in it, but it's a smooth matte. You can't feel it, and it's certainly not like these sparkles. But the winning shades from this isn't the mattes anyway, it is the shimmers. They are just absolutely breathtaking, and I love these colours. I think they are so much fun. I would happily wear this all year round. I think it'll work for spring and summer. It works for the Sugar Plum Fairy look for Christmas. So this is an all year round palette for me, and I think it is beautiful. So before filming this, I was trying to decide what I should do about what I should put on my eyes today. Should I put my #1 palette on, which is what I've done by the way, or should I put the one on that I want to wear the most? So this one is not even in the top 10, but this is the one today I wanted to put on the most. So I'm going to leave it out and make sure I use it this week. And that is this one from from Too Faced. I've got a feeling I haven't actually reviewed this in depth on my channel. I think it was in one of my favourites, my monthly favourites, and I've also done a couple of shorts. If you look through my shorts videos, you will see a few looks. I think I did maybe 3 looks with this. This I could have used again and again and again. I love this. Now, Too Faced may not be the best quality when it comes to eyeshadows compared with things like Natasha Denona, but they are still good. I still think that they are very good. Look at this colour story. I think that this is, oh, I think it is beautiful. And my favourite look I created, which is a little bit out there, was like an apple. I wanted it to be like a sort of autumn apple with the red and the green. Look at these, look at those shades. And I love this look, and I think it worked actually. So if you know me, you know I love greens. But these will make a perfect Christmas look. Look at them. You don't have to go for these sort of bold colours though. There's lots of shades in here where you can create something a lot more simple. Oops. You also get that caramel apple smell when you open it. It started to fade a bit actually. I'm saying that, I've got a cold. I can still smell it, so it probably hasn't faded. But colours like this, if you want to have a slightly more muted look, you don't have to go for these bold ones here. The 2 I've shown you are the boldest shimmers in the palette. So we have more subtle shimmers, like that pink and the sort of light mint. Gorgeous. And the mattes as well. The mattes worked very nicely. I mean, I can just swatch a couple to show you. Probably the most dodgy ones would be the purple and the red. And, well, the red looks okay. But look how the purple has swatched. I think that's swatched very well. The red not so much, but maybe that's me rushing with these swatches. But this for me, this is autumn and winter and Christmas. It's giving you everything you could want. So moving into the autumn season, the caramel apple vibe I thought was really nice touch. And you've got these sort of lovely colours here for autumn. And then you've got much richer shades for moving into the winter. You could even say this takes you into the spring with colours like this. And then you've got the caramel apple smell. It's the metal case. They've returned to the metal case. I think this is, I just think it's beautiful. I love everything about this and I want to use it again and again and again. I didn't want to put it down when I got it. I don't want to put it down now. This one will probably be staying in my regular use drawer because I love it. And now at number 11, I have the Huda Beauty Icy Nude. So you might be a bit surprised this isn't in the top 10, but that's because it's just my preference. I do think this is a beautiful palette, but I think one of the reasons I would put this at 11 and not quite creeping into the top 10, if I can open it, is because they have the sort of fussy formulas which you have to be so careful with, which is a reason why I think I need to take time when I'm using this. So when I say the fussy formulas, I really mean these two, but they're probably the standout shades from the palette. So you need to be so careful because they are so bitty. You could get yourself in an awful mess with these. But I did find, see how chunky they are? I did find that I was able to use these very nicely as long as I was careful. So the key thing for me was always blending this out into my hand. If I just put it down straight away on my hand, you'll see how bitty it is. Hopefully you can see the bits there. But once you blend it out a little bit and smooth it out, it very quickly becomes a very smooth shade like this. And that's when I take my brush to my hand, take it off my hand, then apply, and then I don't have any problems. So it's just that little bit of extra care, and it's just a bit messy in the pan, a bit more mess on the desk, which I think just bugs me a little bit. But this shade here, this is my favourite shade in the whole palette. I love this. This one's the sort of shifty one with a bit of blue and sort of purpley blue maybe. Look at that. So this has endless possibilities for that sort of cool tone, icy look. This is perfect for winter, this is perfect for Christmas, this is great fun. There are so many different looks you can get with this, but you can also go for your sort of everyday look. So if you just sort of look at this corner here and the grey, you could really create something very simple, and you don't have to go in with these big sparkly ones. You could go in for something a bit more simple. But then you do, and you also have a slight warm section here, so you've got mostly cool tone but slightly warmer section here, and then something like this, which is much easier to handle, which has a huge sparkle there. If you can see that one there on the bottom, so that one is a lot easier. So if you wanted a quick silvery sparkle, the only shade I don't like in this palette is this one here, which is, have I got a finger left? I think so. This one is just pure glitter, and I just don't really like the idea of having it on my eyes because I'll end up with bits of glitter in my eye, and I just think it'll be really uncomfortable. I have worn it. For me, it needs to be a topper more than anything, but it's something I'd rather avoid. Apart from that, I love everything about this. I think the mattes worked really, really nicely. Apparently this will be Huda's last big palette, which would be such a shame. I mean, like I said, I have tested over 70 eyeshadow palettes, so for this to be 11 gives you a pretty good idea how much I like this. And I think it's my first proper eyeshadow ranking I've done here on my channel, but if I was going to do one for the previous year, the big Huda palettes would probably feature every time because they are one of the highlights of the year for me. Always look forward to them, so I'm really hoping that the change next year just means maybe she's dropping down to maybe a 15 pan like the Natasha Denona size or something like that, or maybe she said it won't be big, didn't she? So I was going to say maybe it'll be bigger, who knows, but I doubt it. So I don't know, maybe she's just going to just slightly tweak it. She can't stop them surely, because we love them and we need them. So now I've reached the top 10. I need to try and get all this sparkle off my hand if I'm going to swatch any more for you, because I am literally covered in sparkle here. So at number 10 we have this new one here from Viseart. I picked up I think 2 other palettes from Viseart this year, so they haven't made it into my top 20, but I can tell you formula wise they always will. Formula wise they're up there with number 1 with Natasha Denona level formula, because they are so good. I love Viseart, I'm a massive fan, and every year I buy several palettes. I did it way before I got my channel. So Viseart was one of my top eyeshadow choices. So this one is the SIRENEUSE ETENDU. I'm not entirely sure if I say that correctly, but this one was one that quite surprised me. I thought it was a little bit too dark and I wasn't going to be a massive fan. I thought because I need more sort of subtle tones on me usually, this wouldn't work, but this is beautiful. My favourites from this one would probably be this one here and maybe this one, but certainly the first one I showed you, which has that bit of shift in it, is gorgeous. It's got a slightly reddish grey shift in it, which you can't see from the palette until you apply it or swatch it. Absolutely beautiful, but the mattes in these are a knockout. You can create quite a bright light look, which I wasn't expecting, using colours like these shimmers. They really brighten it up. You've also got an excellent liner here. This one works quite well for inner corner-ish. It's still a little bit warm for me, but maybe I could do with a white, well, a cream, and more of a cream. This is a bit too warm, so maybe that's the one thing it is lacking. But the mattes, you will not find better formulas than Viseart mattes. They are so good, but they have brought their shimmers, their metallics, their duochromes right up there to meet the sort of Natasha Denona level. And this one is gorgeous, and this is one I've wanted to go back to again and again since getting it. So quite easy putting this one into my top 10. At number 9 we have Makeup by Mario, the Ethereal Eyes Moonlit edition. So I loved the Ethereal Eyes, the first version that launched. This one has taken over from it. This is now my favourite of the two. I think Moonlight is the most beautiful colour story. I don't particularly think that these shimmers are vastly different to the ones in Ethereal Eyes, so if you were going to get this based on those alone, I wouldn't recommend that. I think it's more that the mattes in this are more cool tones, and obviously we have this fabulous blue. I mean, it's worth getting just for this blue because it is so beautiful. And also this one here, I love this one. This one is a slightly sparkly matte, but I'll show you this. It has a bit of a blue-grey tinge to it, and these two are so beautiful. Just look at that blue, and look at the way it's swatched as well. It is gorgeous. So you need a bit of a light hand if you've got quite light skin like me. You could just use this to line, or you can use it to very slightly build up and smoke up the blue, but I think having this blue is so beautiful. And my favourite look to create with this was building this blue up in the outer V and then using this white one to bring across, so it creates that sort of snow flake effect, the blue and the white together. So here is that white shade that I was talking about. These are so unique, I think, the Mario. I'd say they're toppers, but they do have enough colour in to stand out on their own. Like if I put this beside the blue, you can see how it really can stand out. So it's slightly over the blue there and next to it, and you can see how it alters the blue once it goes over it and makes it that much lighter and for me more manageable. But it does stand out, but they're so unique because they have such a smooth yet wet finish. They sparkle like you wouldn't believe, and they stand out. Sorry, that's Alfie, my dog, barking for treats. They sparkle so much more when you're out and about. So if you are at a party, for instance, and there's bright lights on you, people will notice that these really catch the light, and they are so gorgeous. They look beautiful in daylight as well. They sort of change. So I would never use more than one of these with a look from this palette or from the other etherealized palette. I would always choose one of these and make them a real showstopper part of the look. So just building up the sort of mattes that you most prefer and making one of these either an all over topper over one of the mattes, or just trying to build it up as much as possible across the lid. But this is beautiful, and I want to reach for this one all the time. I really enjoy the sort of pops of blue that we're getting in the palettes over Christmas and winter period, and this has been one of my favorites in that category. And at number 8, in a very similar color story, probably the second most beautiful packaging. I said that that Bobbi Brown one was the most beautiful, but this one must be coming pretty close, and for me the most beautiful packaging of all the Christmas collections. This is the Lancôme Christmas collection. This palette is made by or designed by Lisa Eldridge. So it probably explains why I love this one so much. And this one is Celestial Rose. You will have seen me talk about this quite a bit on this channel, I would have thought, if you follow me. So here we have the most stunning shades. Now, I've been told to use this on my face and I haven't tried that, so I'm looking forward to giving that a go. So I don't know why it didn't occur to me before, but obviously these shades here probably work very well as glowy blush and then highlight. I'm not sure about this one as a bronze because I don't like a glowy bronze, but I suppose this could work as a bronze. So I'm quite excited now to try this as a face palette. But this has been, up until now for me, an eyeshadow palette. And for me, I just like to pick, say, 2 of these shades rather than mix more than 2. So this and this works well together. And the gold with the pink, the gold with the white, the blue and the white. That's my top. That's my favourite. And I think this is the nicest blue shimmer out of all of the blue shimmers we've had. And we've had a lot of lovely blue shimmers launched this year, especially through the holiday period, and I think these two are the best too. The formula is exceptionally smooth. There is no bittiness to this whatsoever. It is top notch, top quality. It looks gorgeous, and I think it's the best. I really do. I think the packaging is phenomenal. I love the embossing. The formula is just so smooth and easy to apply. Every single one of these works well as a one and done as well. You could just apply one all over the eye. I love it. And this blue, again, a bit like with the Mario, even though it's shimmery, this could work as a really nice liner. So you could just take one of these shades all over and then use that as a bold blue liner, which I think is really nice, and that sort of different look and very much in fashion at the moment. So absolutely love this one. This one was my favourite out of the holiday releases, but I've had other favourites throughout the year, so this one hasn't quite made it into my top 5. But trust me, I struggled with ranking at this point. They're all starting to reach number 1 potential anyway, but this one's not quite there. So at number 7, we have a, I believe, limited edition, unfortunately, so you might not be able to find this now. And this is from Chanel. This is Rivage. Now, you've probably seen a bit of a theme here with me with these blues, browns, silvers, but this one launched actually much earlier in the year. So this is a lighter blue. This is more of a sort of spring going into summer blue. I absolutely love this from Chanel. I think these formulas are gorgeous. I mean, looking at them, they do look like that sort of baked gelée formula. I'm not entirely certain, but if I look at the way they, you know, when you can tell from the way that they bulge when they're baked, I think they could be, you know, because they are beautiful formulas. If I swatch the 3 shimmers first, but this blue, I just thought this was worth buying for the blue if nothing else, because the blue is so beautiful. So you can see how much lighter this is compared to the winter releases. So this for me is very much a really pretty moving out of winter, moving into spring shade, sort of reflecting the sort of the sea warming up. That's how I see that, whereas the darker ones are more sort of wintry sea, the moon hitting the sea. With the Mario palette is even called Moonlight, whereas this one is more like moving into spring, summer sea or sky. I think that this is absolutely stunning. I think the formulas are unbeatable here. They are gorgeous. And I just thought that this colour story was beautiful. And the reason this one is so high up in my rankings is I could not let this out of my top drawer for so long. I have put it away because I've sort of moved into the winter autumn colours, and I think this doesn't work so much for that time of year, but I definitely want to bring this one back out. I'm excited to bring it back out, and that's why it has to rank so highly, because I just couldn't stop wearing this. I think it is stunning. And now at number 6, this one is the Byredo Mineralscapes, one of the most impossible palettes to show on camera without looking utterly grubby. So I do love the stones set into this. I think it's really nice, but it doesn't matter what I do to clean it, it always looks dirty. But this colour story is something else. It's very unique in my opinion. I thought this was stunning, and again this was quite early in the year, very sort of light shades, very appropriate for the sort of spring. I think this is a real spring palette, but it does have shades here that would work for autumn and winter as well. In fact, I haven't even had the chance to go back into it over autumn and winter, but like I said, this whole video is inspiring me to go back into these, because with deeper shades, again, we've got one of these lovely blues. We don't have the same sort of white, but we do have some exceptional shades. But the thing that really spoke to me about this palette is, even though it was described as sort of looking like the pebbles in the sea, I saw this as a sort of countryside palette where we have the greens of meadows and we have the blue skies and maybe the sea in the background. It was the whole vision. Like I live by the sea, and I also live by the country. We're in a village where we have country and sea. So this is very much reminding me of home, I suppose, and we have a lot of greenery here in Wales, so get the green fields, a pop of little spring flowers maybe coming through, and then we've got the blues. I think this is so beautiful. They're very soft, they're very gentle colours, but the formula on these is so soft and so silky. It's like real, they are sparkles, but they're like satin feel. The formula is stunning. I mean, I've just swatched the first 3. I'm not going to swatch the whole palette, but I'll just just feeling them now and looking at them. They are beautiful formulas. The only problem with this though is that it is predominantly shimmer. I think there's literally, is it 2 mattes? Yeah, there's just 2 mattes, I think. And that is this one and this one. So they both form a fairly good transition, and then you can build up depth if you wanted to with colours like these. And from what I remember, and maybe this one as well, and from what I remember, I used those darker ones as liners as well, and they did work quite well for that. If I show you these deeper ones, they swatch so nicely, honestly, they really do. So there's those deeper shades there. It is a stunning, stunning, stunning colour story. I know this was very hard to get hold of. I think it released about 6 times throughout the year. Every time it released, it sold out. Released, sold out. So I was very lucky to be able to get my hands on this. I don't know if it's still available now. If you can find it anywhere, then great, because honestly, snap it up. It is so beautiful. I think it is completely unique. I don't think we've had anything else like it all year, and I've got nothing else like this in my collection. It inspires a lot of creative thoughts from me, and I think it is gorgeous. And a lot of these as well would work as one and done. So for a lot of people, if you like these colours, you've got yourself a massive range of one and dones here. So maybe just one of these as a transition, and then one of them all over the lid, maybe two and done. But you could also definitely build them up to one and done. So definitely a palette that would suit everyone, whether you want to be super creative and mix lots of colours, which is something I love to do, or whether you just want to have that one and done quick look. You've got shades like this one for inner corner and under the brow as well, so it covers everything you need, and it's stunning. And the packaging, apart from looking super mucky, it's really pretty, and I did actually keep this on my top shelf for a long time so I could look at it, because it is gorgeous. It's just on camera it looks terrible with all the smudges. So now at number 5. Now if I was going to pick one that's my most fun, the palette that got me the most excited all year, it would be this one, 100%. But this one I need to selectively choose what days I can use it, because it's so colourful. So that's the reason it's 5. But if I'm going to choose the palette that gave me the most joy and the most excitement, it probably would be this one, and that's the Lightwork 6 from DANESSA MYRICKS. The most innovative palette of probably forever actually. So I won't go into all the details of this now, but this is a removable mirror, and inside we have 4 different sections, 3 different sections. Each section can be removed and you can put the mirror on top, or you can build them all, the 3 up together. So there's different ways of packaging it. But for the main thing that I love about it, I did think that the creativity of the packaging was phenomenal, but it's these formulas. I think that these are better than Pat Mcgrath formulas. I think that these are the best formulas I have ever bought. That's how good they are. They are so stunning. They really are. I mean, my favourite of the 3, if I have to pick one, is this one because it's these sort of autumn shades, but you can take them out and mix them about and change how you have them as well. You don't have to keep them in these particular orders. They can be popped out. They're magnetic, so you can create your own little palettes, which is really cool. But if I just show you say 3 here from that autumn, I say autumn, it doesn't have to be autumn, but I saw it as autumn. And these just swatched so beautifully. There's those 3 shades I've just swatched there from the sort of autumny colours. And if I take some from the more blue purple one on the end, whoa, honestly, they just amaze me every time I swatch them. They are so stunning. Look at them. Look at that. Tell me there's a better formula out there. I don't think there is. I think that they are the absolute best. Look how smooth they are. I have no fallout even on my desk from swatching them. It's smooth on my fingers, it's smooth on my hand. They are such beautiful formulas, and these colours, the pigment and the shift and everything about it, the creativity behind this. You do need to love colours. But again, as I've said with lots of things, you could make a one and done look with these. You don't have to go crazy. You can just choose one, and you can always blend it out, and you don't have to have such a bold look. But you can do everything with this palette, and something that surprised me quite a bit was how I could use some of the shiny ones as my sort of base transition. So with this one, for instance, this is more of a satin, but it's still a little bit shimmery, but it still worked really, really nicely as my sort of base. In fact, it's a stunning shade, this one. I'll see if I can show you here. Look at it. It's stunning for this time of year, absolutely stunning, but it worked really well as my sort of transition. And then putting these 2 together, I love mixing these 2 together for autumn. They probably work very nicely for Christmas as well, though, to be fair. This palette has just given me so much fun, so much joy. I love DANESSA MYRICKS. But they are fun palettes. They really need to match what you're wearing. They need to fit the occasion, and that's the only reason I'd say is 5. But for fun, and for formula, number 1. So at number 4, it's Natasha Denona, I Need a Warm. I struggled with whether this should be 4, should it be 1, should it be 2. Like I said, we're now reaching the point where everything I'm showing you is number 1 status, really. But this one is just beautiful. I absolutely love it. I love Natasha Denona's formulas. She is another one that cannot be beaten. This one is in a terrible mess because I used it so much and I failed miserably at trying to clean it recently. So please ignore the mess. I think every single look I've created with this, probably I would say they're not massively different. That's one thing with these palettes. They all, the I Need a Warm, the I Need a Nude and the Golden palette, they do tend to create quite similar looks. So it's when you're going for that sort of, if I want a nice warm look, every look I create with this I will love, but they don't necessarily stand out massively. And obviously if you're using something like this all over the lid as opposed to using something like this, you are going to create a fairly different look because the first one is shifty. It's got green and red in it, which is beautiful, and then the other one I swatched there, so you've got quite different looks there. So you would definitely have quite a different look from that, and you could go for the absolute lightest. But this palette, you can do everything with this. Again, Natasha thinks of everything, so these formulas are always just so perfect for the everyday look. You can glam it up more, you can just have a very basic transition sort of shade, and then you can pop a bit of shimmer on towards the end of the day if you want to turn it from a night to day to night look. As always with these palettes, they just cover everything, and this is something I've never not enjoyed. I love every single colour in this. I love everything I've used. I just can't find fault with it, and I want to reach for it. If I took this with me for a whole year, I would be happy with every look I created every day of the year. I would never be unhappy with it. I love it. I think it's got just about for my skin tone the right sort of level of depth when it comes to liners and creating a smoky depth. Maybe if you're deeper skin toned, it lacks that depth, but for me, for my skin tone, it's just perfect. So I've absolutely loved this, and I just can't see anything bad about it. It's top-notch formulas, top-notch everything. Love the packaging. I just love Natasha Denona. She is my favourite, really. So, of course, she's in my top 5. Again, she's in my top 20 for the second time. And at number 3 is another repeat. So this is the second time this brand has come up in my top 20, and that is Makeup by Mario. This one really took me by surprise, actually. I wasn't even going to get this when it launched. So this one is the Master Mattes, the Neutrals. and I just wasn't very interested. I always tend to go for warm tones, and this year has been my year of discovering I think cool tones actually suit me a little bit better than warms, but I just like warm tones. But anyway, this has become my most used palette of the whole year. So I love the looks I created with this. First of all, when I first tested it, I thought that this worked so well. They blend out beautifully and surprised me how much I could enjoy just a pure matte look without a shimmer, especially because of this particularly light shade here. So when you've got different colours built up from transition to smoking out the crease and lining the eyes, you've got black, pretty much black here, and very dark brown, so you can really line. But then you can put this one across the sort of inner third of the lid and it gives you a pop of brightness, and it is beautiful. So it's a really beautiful matte look you can create with this. But the reason this has become my most used palette is because this has become something I dip into when I'm lacking something, which often happens. So this shade in particular, my most used shade, this one's been my inner corner, it's been my under the brow, it's been my rescue shade when things go wrong and you just need to go over things to mute down colours because you just can't get a control sometimes of a very rich colour. And this one has been my base for so many different looks. In fact, just the other day I was showing you the lid luster in Emerald from Victoria Beckham, and this is what I use to create my base. I use this all the time. This has stayed in my top drawer. It will not be leaving my top drawer. It would take a lot to beat this. I still got it in my top drawer. I won't say it's beaten it. My other one, which isn't in this top 20 now, but I've still kept it, is the Viseart, but I have dipped into the Viseart LES. Now obviously this one is a bit warmer. So this is the neutral matte palette from Viseart. This one, I actually love this warm shade in this one, but they are quite different. So I like to keep them both, but this one serves a similar purpose in that it has liner and it has the inner corner, the rescue shade. I love having palettes like this for that sort of always being there when you need it sort of thing. But I've used this one more than the Viseart one this year. So it hasn't replaced it, but it's now living alongside it and it's not going anywhere. I love it. And again, for a very similar reason, at number 2, and I'm sure you can probably guess this one is going to come in at number 2 because I have talked about this endlessly since buying it, and that is the Tom Ford Black Diamond Quad. So I've been a Tom Ford resistor. I have not been buying his palettes. I thought they were overpriced and not very inspiring. And I thought I'd give this one a try, having liked one. I tried one this year, the more purpley one. I can't think of the name now, but anyway, the purpley one, which worried me, and I ended up really enjoying the formulas. So I said, okay, let's give this one a try. Not really expecting an awful lot from it. And this has become my second most used. Now, had I got this at the start of the year, I think it'd probably be my most used. In fact, I've already got a dent in this, enough for me to think I'm going to hit pan at some point. Because I don't know if you can see that, but I have not stopped using it. This is the most perfect colour, the most perfect formula as well for me, for my inner corner. I've stopped using shimmers most of the time in my inner corner. I have actually got shimmer on today, so I'm contradicting myself a little, but most of the time I don't use shimmers. I find it's more complementary to my sort of fine lines. Now I've got more mature skin. And I love this for that pop of brightness for the inner corner and for under the brow and for the rescue. But it's not just for rescue. If you want to sharpen up a line, this does it so well without you needing concealer. I absolutely love this. But also, this is the perfect liner shade. This is the perfect builder colour for building up depth in the outer V. It is absolutely perfect. So you can create any base look for anything, especially a one and done sort of shade. This is a real perfect palette. And this, I would consider this more of a topper. This is for me, have I got a clean finger? This is the most beautiful topper I just think ever. Like if you think of the Makeup by Mario toppers, I don't know if I can even show you on camera because it's so hard to get across. I can't show you with that hand. I can't do anything with that hand on camera. It's really hard to get it across here. Can you see this? It is just, no, it's impossible to show. You need to see my review of this actual palette because then you'll see the magic of that topper, because it just lights up a look and gives it such a different, sparkly, beautiful finish. It's just one of the nicest formula of toppers. I'm putting it right now over the brown to try and show you if I put a brown matte down and then use it as a topper over the brown matte, how it looks. So hopefully you can see it a bit better there. I feel like I'm not selling it here. You need to watch my review of using it. When I first got it, I did a review of this along with the blush duo that launched. This is called the Black Diamond Quad, and this launched for the autumn winter. But if you watch my full review, you'll see the minute that this hits the center of the eye, wow, it is just the most gorgeous, beautiful topper, better than the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes. So if you love that finish, for me this one just slightly beats it, and it's the best topper I've ever tried in my life. Honestly, it is gorgeous. So I'm now unfortunately a Tom Ford fan, which means I will be stocking up on more Tom Ford, so not so good for the bank balance. So now number one, this is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. So I'm not sure if you've guessed which one I'm wearing. Now it was difficult to put this at number one because this is not a palette I particularly want to reach for in winter. I see this much more as my summer palette. But I think if I look at the amount of times I've used it this year, that's why I had to put it at number one. It's the one I definitely reach for more than anything I've shown you because I love it. I love it mostly for summer though. So I've tried to go for slightly deeper shades from the palette today to make it work more sort of winter appropriate. But it's still a little bit warm and a little bit shiny for me for winter. But it's my most used, and that is the Natasha Denona Golden Palette. Of course it had to be Natasha Denona. She is my absolute favourite when it comes to eyeshadows. This one is stunning. I even like that really bold gold here, which I thought was just going to be way too yellow, but I even like the look I created with that. But if you exclude that yellow, every single colour here is so user-friendly. But I liked the yellow, so I'm not going to complain about it because I definitely liked it. I did a full look with it and thought, oh, this is going to look terrible. And it didn't. I really liked it. So today, because I wanted to make it a bit darker, I've gone for this shimmer here and built that up there in the outer V. And then all across the lid, I've got this one here. So this one is Fizzy, I believe. Yeah, this one is Fizzy. And then in the inner corner, I've got this one here. This is Aura, I think that one is called. I think that one just about works for the inner corner without being too sparkly. So again, as with the I Need a Warm palette, this has everything I could possibly need. It's got my inner corner under the brow. It's got my perfect liner, which I've also got on. I've used that as my liner above and below. And then it's got beautiful, as always, matte. So I've gone for this one today because it's slightly more cool. So I've gone for this one and this one together. But going for more warm ones in the summer, I've forgotten to say which one I started with. I started with the Flash one and then built up with this. Then moved to this. Then Fizzy. Where's Fizzy? And then lined with this. But if I was going for slightly warmer ones, I would probably go with this or this as my very first transition. And then we've got these, which are a little bit more warm. This one's probably the coolest out of it all. And let's face it, this is not a cool tone palette, but I was trying to go for that because of the time of year. But I mean, look at it. Look at Fizzy. I love Fizzy. But then I love all of them. They are all stunning. So if you don't know the palette, I will just do a couple of swatches of some of these sensational formulas, including that extremely yellow one there. But look at them. They are so beautiful. No fallout, no bits, superbly smooth. Top 10 out of 10 formulas. Doesn't beat DANESSA MYRICKS. Like I said, I think DANESSA MYRICKS is definitely right at the very top for me now when it comes to these stunning formulas. But when it comes to a colour story that I can reach for all the time, and I've wanted to reach for all the time, that's why I had to choose this. Even though the I Need a Warm is probably a palette I can use all year round, whereas this one not so much. So maybe I should have put that at number one. But this has got number one purely because I know I wanted to use it the most, and I did use it the most. I just couldn't stop dipping into this one. So that's the only reason. I was trying to be fair from that respect, but I could swap them over and give them first place quite easily. So like I said, my top 5 is really like a joint number one. All my top 5s are all number ones. Really, really difficult for me to pick a favourite, but they're all favourites. And trust me, I've left out a number of palettes that I've loved. So I love eyeshadow palettes, as you probably know if you know my channel. So I've tested out some gorgeous ones and I've had to miss a lot of them out. So I hope this has given you an idea of my favourites from this year, and I would love to hear from you. Have I shown you your favourites? Have I not included some of your favourites? And there's not a lot of the Dior and Chanel quads or quints, which I do test a lot, and I do really love them. But maybe because they're not so pigmented and they're a bit more subtle, they're not ones I reach for again and again, apart from the two I've shown you. I did absolutely love those. That's not to say I don't love the Dior and Chanel. I do. I love them. I love their collections. I really look forward to them. I think because they have more limited looks being quads or quints, I tend to enjoy them a few times and put them away. Whereas the ones I've shown you today, I go back and do so much more with, because I think there's more options for what I've shown you today. There's more multiple purposes. But anyway, have I forgotten anything? Please let me know. And have you tried something that maybe I haven't, which would be in your top 20 or your top 5? What's your number one of 2024? I would love to hear. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do hit that like button, and please do subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos from me. And if you're already subscribed, you're at the end of one of my videos. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you all, and I really do hope to see you all again for my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.